himself was wrongfully convicted.
Marty's one of the greatest stories, of all when it comes to wrongful convictions. It's just, you can't believe it.
The way we jokingly put it is Marty went to jail and Marc went to Yale.
But here we are, those 10 years of me being free from prison, and we were teaching a class at Georgetown.
Very exciting thing was happening. They're childhood friends. You can't even make this up. They have a class now where each team of 3 or 4 kids is taking on a case of wrongful conviction.
When wrongful convictions happen, every part of the system is fair.
The holy grail for us would obviously be one of the people we believe were wrongfully convicted getting out, getting exonerated, and coming home.
We may not be successful in getting anyone out in the semester. But guess what? What the students have been able to accomplish in 6 weeks, unheard of.
As a human being, when you read through this case, you say to yourself, obviously, well, geez, this doesn't seem right.
Shortly after, virtually the next day, somebody else goes on the news and says, "It was me, it wasn't him."
I was reading back because I didn't have any concern of the automatic weapon that
Marc confessed to committing the murder that Valentino Dixon was convicted of.
I hated not being able to just call him when I had something urgent to tell him, like, Dad, I'm pregnant.
I'm going to be the best granddad in the world.
Every single person who has looked at it has said there are major things wrong with it. This should have never concluded to a judgment. It should have ended in a mistrial. Because he wasn't there. His claim is that he wasn't there at the time, that he was home, that he didn't participate in it, and so I think his best guess is that Justin Davis did it because he pled guilty.
My name is John Moss III. I've been charged and convicted of triple murder for crimes that I did not commit.
The chief serologist at the time, chief DNA guy, Fred Zane, was involved in approximately 140 cases. And John Moss III was one of the cases.
I can't believe it in French name,
Yeah, it's been time to go home.
There's a lot, because this is the place where, my family shit from.
I'm supposed to be the one to sacrifice and being there for you, but like our relationship with that way has always been reversed because, you always been the one sacrificing for me.
Literally no one saw my dad, except for...
I had indicated that I couldn't be 100% sure. I thought that they had more evidence than what they turned out to actually have.
What was your perception of Monfrey, his defense lawyer, at the time of the trial?
Was, a seasoned, well thought out attorney.
He actually fell asleep during the trial.
A lot of attorneys listen with their eyes closed.
Good evening, and welcome to Making an Exoneree. Who would have thought, Marty, when we first met at 3 years old at lovey-dovey preschool, to be here today.
Like 40-something years ago.
So as you know from this trailer, this event tonight is the capstone of a totally unique class. And not just because it was taught by 2 childhood friends, one of whom was an exoneree himself, and two who have a powerful bond that was forged by their own struggle against injustice. But we can say from our own experience, having been on both sides of this sadness and injustice, is that there's nothing more important or more gratifying than getting an innocent person out of prison. But tonight isn't about Marty or about myself. It's about our 16 students here who've done absolutely incredible work this semester. All in one semester, by the way, as you're about to see. And most importantly, it's about our 4 what we call clients, friends, who are sitting in prison right now. And they've been in for a total of 96 years and counting. And who we hope will now get the attention that they deserve and finally get a chance to come home.
Wrongful convictions are an epidemic in our society. Just last year, there were 139 exonerations. In 2016, there were 171. Just think about what that number translates to. It's about 1 innocent person released every 2.5 days. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because there are tens of thousands of innocent men and women currently incarcerated. Imagine if we had more innocence projects, more lawyers, more students like these amazing students over here. How many more innocent people would be free? Believe me, when you're wrongfully convicted, it's really, really hard to get out. I know because I served almost 18 years in prison before that happened. Remember that when someone is wrongfully convicted, there's a guilty person free, victimizing society. And it's important to remember the victims of the crimes that you're going to hear about tonight. Toriana Jackson, Justin Baumgartner, Vanessa, Paul, and Bernadette Regetz, and Terrence McCoy. Were their memories honored by Valentino Dixon, Tim Wright, John Moss III, and Kenneth Bond being convicted? Did their families receive justice by the wrong people spending the rest of their lives in prison?
I want to say a few words about our students, because what they've done this semester is absolutely extraordinary. I don't think you can quite understand what they've accomplished. So let me explain. First off, remember, these are undergraduates. The media that covers us keeps calling them law students, but no, they don't have a BA yet.
Just get an honorary law.
So they're not lawyers, but they've handled sophisticated legal work, investigative matters, as well as anybody could. Second, not a single one of them had any significant documentary making experience. Right? They weren't filmmakers. And we were asking them to create documentaries that could potentially save an innocent person's life. That's not a small task. Third, these were real cases. This wasn't some moot, analysis with fictitious cases given with hypothetical. These were real people. Right? These were real lives. These were real injustices. Fourth, we didn't have easy cases. This wasn't a situation where, there's some DNA sitting here, just walk it down to the lab and then you get the person out of prison. We took some of the most difficult and challenging cases where leads had vanished, where legal appeals seemed like they were at a dead end, where hope was just about lost. But I think you'll soon agree that we're breathing some new life into these cases. And finally, these 16 students worked so hard, with so much dedication, including traveling to visit their clients in prison, countless late night and weekend working sessions, crash courses in video editing. They understood the stakes and they rose to the occasion, despite the fact, after all, that they are still undergraduate students. Right? They have their other classes, which Marty and I sometimes would forget. They have very busy social lives, which we don't want to know about. And for 13 of our students who are seniors, they have post-graduation plans to start preparing for. So I want to say to the students that Marty and I could not be more proud of what you've accomplished, and I hope that you and your families are proud of what you've done.
We would like to acknowledge and thank the experts who not only consulted with the students on their projects, but many of them came to our class and worked with the students directly. If you're in the room and I read your name, please stand up so everyone can see who you are and acknowledge the dedication you gave not only to this project, but the students as well. Adam Deutsch, Sean Almhurst, Dan Ribakov, Barry Pollock, Steve Braga, Alison Brettschneider, Brian Corsini, Shanna Englund, Michael Archer, Dean Bernard Cook, Emily Munn, Lonnie Story, Barry Sheck, Dr. Michael Bond, Professor Steve Drizzen, Professor Sol Kassin, Fabiana Alceste, Professor Natalie Schilling, Brent Lane, James Trainer, John Grisham, Dr. Nancy Franklin, Michael Knox, Jerry Summers, Dr. John Wickstead, Luca Terzo, Charlie House, and James Ganala. Had it not been for all of these individuals, they wouldn't be that successful. So thank you. We would also like to give a special thanks to Jason Flom, the CEO of Lava Records. Jason is a founding board member of the Innocence Project and the host of the podcast Wrongful Conviction. Jason's generous donation to our class allowed our students to travel and investigate. After Jason spoke to our class, he was so moved that he invited the John Moss Group onto his podcast, which aired today. So if anybody's interested, go to Wrongful Conviction Podcast, and I think you'll be absolutely moved with the John Moss Group stand up. And this evening is a special evening because we are also joined by a few people that made it special for me. Dawn Murphy Johnson, Scott Splitgerber, and Adam Deutsch. Each of these people worked tirelessly to make it possible that I was here. We'd also like to acknowledge the families of Tim Wright, John Moss, Valentino Dixon, and Kenneth Bond. We hope we have given you some sense of justice this evening, and know that the fight to free your loved ones has just begun.
And now we'd like to invite up the group of 4 students who created the trailer that you just saw to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Uju Ligwe, and together with Giselle Rios, Ashley Venezuela, and Molly Gibson, we helped to create the trailer that you just watched.
Originally, we worked on in 5th place. Unfortunately, things didn't pan out, so we decided to create this overview of the class project.
We wanted to highlight how the class really stemmed from Marc and Marty's long and deep friendship, and to pique your interest in these 4 wrongful convictions.
Without further ado, we would like to invite the Valentino Dixon group on stage to present their documentary.
Hi everyone. We are Team Valentino Dixon. I am Nawi Johnson. This is Judy Fagnas, and this is Ellie Gunatalika. Valentino Dixon has been in prison for 26 years for the murder of Toriano Jackson. He has maintained his innocence for that long, and at the same time, someone else, Lamar Scott, has confessed to the shooter of Toriano Jackson for multiple times.
While in prison, Valentino has used art as a way to escape. He has created hundreds of amazing drawings, and we hope that this documentary will shed light on his experience and that you will become as inspired by his case as us, and that you will want to prove his innocence and get him out of prison as we want. We would like to acknowledge that Tina Dixon, Valentino's daughter, is with us today in the audience. Thank you so much for coming. And also, before we watch the documentary, we should mention that while all four groups visited their client in prison, we were the only ones lucky enough to be able to bring cameras from the inside. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy our film Double Time.
Violation on your soul, you know, to be accused of something that you didn't do.
Back in 1991, the area of Bailey and Delaware, there in the city of Buffalo, was a high crime area.
I went up to Bailey and Delaware, which was Louis, okay, which was like a social place to hang out. Everybody hang out there on the weekend. And at any given time, it's like 60 people, 100 people out there. And then I goes into the Delaware to test it to grab a beer. Okay, I'm reaching down in the cooler and I hear shots, just that quick. Pop, pop, right? Instead of staying in the store, I run out of the store, you know, to see what's going on. And this is when I see Tori and Aaron tussling with Marc. More come running up and shooting up in the air, okay? And like everybody started scattering. And I jumped in my car and I left. I never returned back to the scene. I was gone.
It was my birthday. So a friend of mine called me on the phone. They said they're looking for Valentino. Next thing you know, it seemed like 1,000 cops came, drawing their guns, you know, to his head and everywhere.
When they accused me of this, like it hit me so hard, right? It just killed me, you know, and I figured that it would all work itself out. When you have that many people, there's no way that the truth is not going to come out, you know, and this thing is going to get cleared up in a couple days.
Shortly after, virtually the next day, somebody else goes on the news and says, "It was me, it wasn't him," or Marc Scott confessed to committing the murder that Valentino Dixon was convicted of.
So I opened fire for him. The reason he died, because I didn't have any control of the automatic weapon at all.
Terry came to visit me one time, and I think the visit lasted 20 minutes. I met him one time before trial, and that was it. And I knew something was wrong.
He talking on witnesses, so we goes in there, and we're talking, and all of a sudden, he just says, "Get the gun, you know, go up on a corner, put it underneath a bench." We like, how do we know where the gun is?
They were very disruptive. They were highly emotional, and they were challenging my ability to try the case. They were challenging my efforts on behalf of their son. Without, I could say, well, what should I be doing differently?
Let's speak about the witnesses, because this was their entire case, okay? So go to John Sullivan. You are 150 yards away in the dark. You know he's where you know. And he had 2 beers and some marijuana and cocaine.
I've had witnesses tell me that any one of those substances actually enhances their ability to achieve things. Witnesses will make those comments. Yeah, I love hooked up, I see it great.
Now let's go to the second witness, Emo Adams. But here we have an affidavit from Roger Putnam, private investigator. I was asking Emo Adams if the testimony he gave during the trial of Valentino was true. Emo Adams stated on more than one occasion that he did not tell the truth. Okay, witness number 3 is Aaron Jackson. Okay, he says that I picked out slot number 4 and I identified that as looking like the person who shot my brother Tori and me, but I cannot be sure. He was there, it happened so quick. But you don't tell the police that Valentino Dixon is the shooter. How do we get from that point to the courtroom here today where you're pointing out Valentino Dixon as a shooter? My memory gets better with time. I was convicted on this testimony. when he gave me 39 years, whatever he gave me, I think I was in space.
It's undescribable. It really is. I don't think it would not have mattered if it was your only child or you had 10 kids.
In particular, Lamar Scott's confession later on, when he's in prison for having shot another guy, where he says, you know, if you'd have believed me in the first place, maybe this other guy wouldn't have gotten shot. That seems pretty compelling.
Valentino Dixon is an innocent man.
And you knew that 8 people cleared me of crime, but you didn't care. How do you discredit all these people over here because you want to get a conviction?
It's in vogue to be able to say that we're helping people who are wrongfully convicted. Even if they aren't wrongfully convicted, they're still in vogue.
I know for myself that Valentino Dixon is innocent because Lamar Scott told me personally he did the murder.
I saw it with my own eyes that it was not Valentino that shot him, it was Lamar Scott. Of course, it was cops everywhere. They asked me, my friend, and my god sister, did we see anything? And we were like, no, because in the 90s in Buffalo was a lot of drug-related stuff, shootings, kidnappings.
Which is irrational fear. The issue is that if they let the fear overcome their responsibility as a citizen, then they've also forfeited some of their right to be believed as a witness.
I was told I had cancer. And I'm like, what's the Lord gonna say? I just want to be here to see them get out.
Let me tell you something about my mom. You can't get a better mother than her, you know? And I want to make her proud. I want to buy her a house. I want to get her off that street.
I hated not being able to just call him when I had something urgent to tell him, like, Dad, I'm pregnant, or I'm about to graduate college.
I'm so proud of Tina. I just want to get out and make her happy.
His art, God gave him that when he was born. I saw it in him when he was 4 years old. So I don't even know how he was holding this thing.
Art is like, it's been like a spiritual journey for me. Even in a dark place like this, you know, beautiful things can emerge and be created. Let me say this, without the artwork, without the playing, I'm probably in solitary confinement with like a lot of guys in my type of time. It's a lot of things that I want to do and I don't have a lot of time to do it. I'm going to be the best granddad in the world.
This is a pardon application right here, and this is a commutation of sentence application right here. I have read through both documents. As a human being, when you read through this case, you know, you say to yourself, obviously, well, geez, you know, this doesn't seem right here. If in fact, Mr. Thompson and Mr. Rosenthal do in fact submit another 440 motion, I can assure Mr. Dixon and his family that I will review that thoroughly. I will be fair, and I will use all the wisdom that I have to give Mr. Dixon a fair opportunity and a fair review on anything that he submits in front of me.
I'm going to make a change. For once in my life, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to make it right. That's what stand up for justice means. It's deeper than trying to fix the wrongs already made. It's teaching our youth not to make the mistakes that we made. That's what reform is. Reformation. Change. Do you stand for justice? Do you honor evolution? Just like the time periods, we must evolve and make changes in our society for the better.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Steven, and my two partners here are Andrew and Jennifer. Thank you all for being here tonight and for showing your support for each of our cases. Together, we are the Tim Wright team. Tim Wright is a Marine veteran who was wrongfully convicted of a murder he did not commit.
Working on Tim's case has been an incredible journey, and we just want to thank everyone who's been involved in his case, from our incredible professors to the experts to his family, who have all been incredibly supportive. We do want to make a special shout out to his sister Ashley, who's actually in the audience, as well as his father Tim Sr. and his wife Danielle, who lives in Australia, all of who made this documentary possible.
Tim has been incarcerated at Buckingham Correctional Facility for 10 years. If he serves his full sentence, he will be released when he is 76 years old. We hope that after you view our documentary, you will understand at least a portion of the injustice that was done to Tim, and that you will join our fight for his innocence as well as for his freedom. Enjoy.
This is a prepaid debit call from Wright, an inmate at Virginia Department of Corrections, Buckingham Correctional.
My name is Kenneth Wright, Jr., and I am wrongfully convicted of the murder of Justin Bond.
Timothy was my older brother. He was always there for us. Fun guy. Loved to laugh, tell jokes. The fact that he was going to be the first soldier in our family was just huge. He was my hero. We looked up to him, we followed him around, whatever he did, that was cool. And then just out of the blue, we got news that he got arrested, and then just found out from there.
The victim in Tim's case was a man named Justin Baumgartner. His body was found the morning of May 4th, 2008 in Amherst County, Virginia. The investigation revealed that the night before, he had been at Monacan Park along with his ex-girlfriend Nicole Turpin, as well as Tim and Justin Davis, another friend of the group. According to Justin Davis, there was a love triangle between Tim and the victim, Justin Baumgartner, and this girl, Nicole Turpin. According to Justin Davis, on the night of the murder, Tim was very angry. He left the park. He and Justin hopped in Tim's truck together. They followed the victim down Elon Road. They were pursuing him at very high rates of speed, up to 70 miles an hour. Tim got out a gun and shot at the victim's car several times, and one of those bullets hit Justin Baumgartner, pierced him in the heart, and he later died. The problem is that the physical evidence really doesn't bear out the story as Justin Davis tells it. There's really no evidence that a gun could have even shot into a car at a speed that fast, or that that's actually what happened. So there was really a lack of evidence at trial that confirmed what Justin Davis said in his story.
There's some serious question, serious doubt in my mind, that the shooting could have taken place the way it was described as having taken place. The victim's truck is sort of a normal height truck, whereas Tim's truck had a lift kit installed, so it's a truck that was much higher than the victim's did. If a shot was fired from the driver's seat of Tim's truck, it would then cross through the victim's vehicle at a slightly or more than slightly downward angle. But in looking at the photographs that they took of the trajectory, what you see is a trajectory that is moving slightly upward as it passes through the windshield and crosses the cabin of the vehicle. What is alleged to have occurred could not have occurred, and that means that the testimony on which he was convicted was false.
The other issue is that Justin Davis was the son of an Amherst County Sheriff's deputy. There would later be an allegation that Justin Davis had some favoritism or that his dad pulled strings. and really none of that was resolved. That was an issue that still to this day comes up.
And this was a case involving my son and a policeman's son. And the policeman got to maintain on the force during that time. He actually was part of the investigation that the police department did, from our understanding of it. They found casings on the site, and they only had the policeman's son's fingerprints on those shells. That would link him to it more than my son. But they, they believed whatever the policeman's son said about my son. It's like, oh, are you playing a game with my son's life?
Timothy's court-appointed lawyer, Gregory Smith, told me, well, if I win this case, I'll never be able to work in this town again. So it's just not going to happen.
The prosecution made deals with jail inmates who were in close proximity to Tim to encourage them to testify in exchange for reduced sentences and payments of money.
The prosecuting attorney knew, and those snitches knew exactly what deals on the table, exactly what was said. And she got on that stand and said, I didn't offer no deals. They got on the stand and said, we were never offered any deal.
There are receipts and correspondence between these informants and the prosecution which shows otherwise.
Because one of my daughters talked to one of the reporters, and he didn't know she was his sister. He said, look, the police give us stories, and they said to keep everything on this Timothy guy and nothing on the policeman's son. We don't want any negative press on the policeman's son. It's got a little state of Timothy. And if you don't, well, you won't get your leads in the future.
I think when the prosecution tried to make him out, he was as jealous, was rageaholic. It just wasn't him. The prosecution had all the right narratives, but they were focusing on the wrong person. If anyone is going to commit what happened, it was Justin Davis. I have no positive words to say about him. He was a creep, he made me uncomfortable.
I had officers flying signs notarized statements from 3 inmates I used to know in the jail. I said, look, we were in population with Justin Davis before your case went to trial. And he specifically told us he was saying, well,
We love this country we live in. We're not against the system. We just want to see the system work like it's supposed to.
I think a lot of the things that he's pointed out about the trial being unjust and missing a lot of important pieces are true. I think that if he had had a different defense plan and a different trial strategy, I don't think that he would be where he is. I would love to try the case again if we can get into a situation where he's granted a new trial.
I know Timothy said, if I get out, I'm going to help others. That was his first thought. I'm going to help others get out that have been wrongly put in.
His words were, I'm going to turn the world upside down.
Yeah.
Shake things up.
Yeah. You can't make up time that you lose, but
we can stop losing it.
But we can, we'd like to stop losing it as soon as we could and spend what time we have. And I've never heard anything like this. He said, Dad, I'm going to get out of here, and it's going to work out. But he gave me a time frame, and he said, if I can't get out by that time, then they're going to carry me out. And I was like, son, don't talk like that, you know?
Every single activity in all of our individual lives are impacted by the fact that he's not there. It's this giant hole that never gets filled. And just having him out is almost like it would fix us.
I want to start my own business, start my own life with my wife. I want to go to, make a difference, on my own. Nothing is going to be perfect, but that's why you take something at a time. I'm excited to take that next step when that day comes.
Hi everybody, and thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Alex Feltis, and along with my colleagues and good friends Maddie Hay and Jessica Sperado, we are the John Ross Group. It has been a privilege throughout this semester to get to know John and to call him a friend. And to tell you more about John and his case, I want to introduce Jessica and Maddie.
John was arrested when he was 17. He spent over 2/3 of his life in prison, 38 years, an unfathomably large number. During that time, despite the horrendous circumstances he's faced, he's managed to still be a fantastic brother, mentor, and friend to many folks in this room here today. Thank you all so much for coming and for letting us be John's voice on the outside when he can't be here himself.
We especially want to thank the members of John's family who are here today. Gia, Tristan, Audrey, Moss, thank you so much for coming all the way from Cleveland to be here with us tonight. We thank you so much for being here and for letting us tell John's story. So without further ado, everyone please enjoy our documentary, 38 Years.
John Moss III. I've been charged and convicted of triple murder that I did not commit. I've been here in the state of West Virginia for over 38 years now, fighting in proving my innocence.
Those pictures were a simple probably really more like 1960s, living room bathroom in a small cottage with a Christmas tree. They had a door open and a little kid hanging from the door, like you hang on it. And another kid somewhere else, and then all the Christmas presents were open. And the juxtaposition of all those images and that little kid hanging from the door is not something you really want to spend a lot of time with. Yeah. But yeah, haunting is the right word.
Of course, everybody knows that Paul Wright, the father and husband, had confessed to the homicides. One of the kids was drowned. One of them was hung from the door, right? Well, according to Paul Wright's confession, one liked to swim and one liked to swim. They didn't want family. Told his wife that. And, as if to say, well, you hit the road, and she was thinking about it.
The math you do is what do you have, what is the evidence, and is it enough to take to a jury and let them decide what happens here? Very aggressive prosecutor. Sometimes you didn't always understand what he was doing.
When I first met him, it was in 80, and they questioned me about it. And I told them I didn't know anything about these murders. The only thing that I knew was what I've seen on TV. But when we was on our way back to West Virginia, we went over different things that were supposed to happen at the house. And when I didn't get something like Marc Smith, he would hit me in the mid session. When I told him that I had a lawyer, his name and numbers in my Bible in my back pocket. Yeah, he took the Bible out of my back pocket and slammed it against the back seat of his car. Told me I didn't need a lawyer. So once we got to Parkersburg, they was taking me out of the car, and Mike Smith, he hit me in between the legs, and I go down.
The state trooper there in Parkersburg had a reputation for being straightforward. You know, if you were alone with him in a room, you know, you might be a little intimidated.
Do you know which trooper it was?
Yes? Yes?
Jerry Williams, he come in there, he was asking me questions about the crimes and different stuff that we had went over in the car. And whenever I messed up or I couldn't remember something, Mike got to come in there and slap me around a little bit. And that's what I told him I can't do it. I told him I can't do it. And he said, he knows he's done. He knows he's done.
More telling really is that the investigators don't press him to be specific when he gives vague answers. And this is very strange because this push to get people to recount the details of the crime, which makes sense. If you're the one who did the crime, you should know the details of it, details that only the police know about, right? Otherwise you could be somebody pretending to do it for whatever reason, or you're probably not the person who did it. But repeatedly, they let him be vague and they don't press him. Very, very tellingly, we see the police scripting, providing details to John that he does not introduce into the interrogation event. The reader comes away with a feeling that John provided a lot more details than he actually did. The details were provided by the police. And this is evidence contamination, just like contamination of DNA evidence, of blood evidence, of any other kind of evidence.
The chief serologist at the time, chief DNA guy, Fred Zane, was involved with approximately 140 cases, and John Moss III was one of the cases.
In Texas and West Virginia, a medical expert is accused of botching lab tests, which were used to send innocent people to jail.
The West Virginia Supreme Court has charged Zane with misrepresenting the evidence in 134 rape and murder cases.
They demonstrated that he was quote-unquote dry labbing, that is, he wasn't even doing the tests, but he would come in and give results.
Well, you can't believe it because he's dead, I mean, as a practical matter.
Most of the guys, including myself, never got an opportunity to get a hearing, and then if they got a hearing, the hearing didn't result in anything. Out of 140 plus litigants, I believe 5 litigants got relief.
In this particular case, the court simply did not apply the standard. The trial judge never applied the standard. I do think it was an unfair result.
This letter is in full support of parole for John Moss III. 38 years in prison. That fact amazes and saddens me every time I think about it. John is one of the most genuine and thoughtful people I know, and has opened up to me in many long talks about his life, about what he would do with his life if given another chance. He told me of how he would love to go home and reunite with his family after so long. He is one of the most influential people that I've been fortunate enough to come across in my life. That is no exaggeration. John's been a brother and a counselor to me since the day I met him. I truly believe that he, before almost anyone, deserves a chance to reclaim his life and make something remarkably positive out of it. I could go on for 10 or 100 more pages about how deserving John is for the opportunity to live again in a community that will be better for his presence. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that you can count on him to continue if given the chance to come home to his family. Please consider releasing John Moss III. Thank you for your time and consideration. Respectfully, Brian Ferguson.
It's been time to go home.
Yeah, we working on that. Yeah.
I profess my innocence. They won't even give me a chance to fight. I will continue to fight until the day I die. I will never give up.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Nada, and these are my team members, Cassidy and Julia, and we are the Kenneth Bond L team. We'll be showing a documentary today about Kenneth, who has been wrongfully incarcerated for 23 years now, since the age of 16, for a murder he did not commit.
At Jessup Correctional Institution, Kenneth is an exceptional student within the University of Baltimore program, having earned his GED and constantly impressed his professors, such as our own Marc with his love for philosophy, politics, and literature. Kenneth is also a leader in a prison mentorship program for younger men.
Despite being behind bars for so long, Kenneth has been a devoted father to his two children, and he is now a loving grandfather to his new grandson. Among the many family members and supporters who are with us tonight in support of Kenneth, we would like to acknowledge Lisa Stansel, Kenneth's mother, Barbara Sharp, Kenneth's grandmother, and Kenneth's daughter. We hope you enjoy our documentary, Broken Bonds.
My name is Kenneth Bond. Since the age of 16, I've been incarcerated for a crime I had nothing to do with.
There was a crime. It was a murder of Harrison Court. We know the shooter shot one bullet in the air and 3 at the victim, and then one of them veered off into a car and shot Robert Lucas in the leg too.
We were just talking about the person that got shot at in Wrongful. I will never forget when the detectives came in my home and said that they were looking for my grandson, that he was suspected of murder or something, and so they arrested him.
When I was in interrogation in the homicide, they kept asking me questions. They interrogated me for a long time, but I was adamant that I was innocent. I was adamant that I didn't know anything about the crime. Anytime they asked me something about it, I said no. I was adamant, and I had nothing to do with it. My friend Anthony, I seen him, then we went to the movie.
What we did was, when we went to the movies, we had a bar called Exoneree Martin. Got back, right? It was dark. If he was guilty, I'd be guilty. We scared him. You really didn't do it.
In the Kenneth Bond case, they had cartridge casings, they had live rounds of ammunition, they had firearm recovered, and they had a couple of projectiles recovered from, I believe, the autopsy. He had 25 caliber live rounds of ammunition on his person. You're not going to tell me that they came from that particular gun just by extracting marks. You need a little bit more than that. You need a lot more than that. The extractor marks are unreliable. Extractor ejector, they're unreliable to make a call. Nowhere in this report says that anything is positive. So how are you going to convict somebody on ballistics evidence when nothing is matched or nothing was positive for each other or positive for a specific gun? And if that's based on the case that the conviction was resulted of conviction, and that's insanity. That's basically what it is.
Concrete is,
They care too much for me personally. We put money together. We worked hard to get the money because we didn't know about lawyers at the time.
They definitely told me that I believe I could do the best job I can. You know, and being a drug addict, later on, some years later, he's been involved for being paid to do some things, to file things on behalf of his crimes that he never did.
He never came to try. I had paid him. He was not. He was social. Doing something. Doing something.
What was your perception of Moncrief, his defense lawyer, at the time of the trial?
He was, a seasoned, well thought out attorney. If I thought he was, falling down drunk or falling asleep or something, I would have noted it and brought you court's attention.
He actually fell asleep during the trial.
A lot of attorneys listen with their eyes closed.
I did not know that I was the only witness who had identified a person in the crime scene. I made it clear to the homicide detectives all along that I saw this person for all of maybe 2 or 3 seconds. It was dark, dimly lit. The person had something covering their head. From the very first time that I was shown a photo array, all the way through to the second time, and maybe even, I'm not sure if there was a third time. The first trial, second trial, I was never 100% sure that Kenneth Bond was the person that I saw that evening. I had indicated to the police officers and to everyone else who would ask that I couldn't be 100% sure. I thought that they had more evidence than what they turned out to actually have. Life should not have been taken away from him based on the testimony that I provided.
And it shouldn't have been convicted based on the ballistics, just on extracting much. And eyewitness testimony or flawed eyewitness testimony, it's got to be re-looked at. Should be re-looked at.
23 years later.
Somebody said my dad was right here. I've never stood here before. Never had any town here. I was like, wow, this is a lot because this is a place where my family changed from.
He was my first grandchild, and I loved him dearly.
I want to say that, like you, I'm supposed to be the one sacrificing and being there for you, but like our whole relationship in that way has always been reversed because, you always been the one sacrificing for me. So your large reason why or behind how I made it through all these years being in this situation of coming down here and having to build a relationship with your father in that way. And I so much appreciate how your love has always been unconditional.
Only that here. Please allow
For being here for so long for something I didn't do. And how the people that are knowing it, people being questions and being in the end, people looking at you as the worst of the worst. And the father overcoming. And I just don't want that title. I'm not talking about any money or anything like that, but I really want to rudimentary sentencing, the basics, the possible sentencing, spiritual sentencing, the mentoring program, and older prisoners, younger prisoners, teaching skills like fatherhood, masculinity, leadership, community building. And I'm hopelessly optimistic. We have been here for that long for something I had nothing to do with my mother that has always been. How can I make the most out of this situation?
I want to give a message out to Terrence's mother. I want you to know that I'm sorry for your loss, and that I care for you and your son, and I care for your story, and I care that you find your peace with this situation, because that's what I want to do. Even though I don't know you, and even though our family has a relationship, it does. I love you. I want to get this issue resolved, so the next 20 years of our life maybe aren't hell, and maybe aren't difficult. Maybe we can feel like justice was served and justice had our back this time.
There's no justice for Terrence McCoy if the wrong person is in jail.
I still get goosebumps every time. And I've seen each one of them 15 times. It's very emotional. Now, we have something here tonight, even on another level, that we're trying to do technologically if it works, which is we've arranged, or tried to arrange, to have each of our 4 clients live by phone speaking to our audience here tonight. In Valentino Dixon's case, unfortunately, New York State would not allow him to be available by the phone. He's locked in his cell right now. I want you to remember that and think about that. But he was able to leave us a message that we recorded that we're going to play. Now we have live, we have Tim Wright.
Hey, Tim, you're live.
Say again?
You're live. You're seeing the audience right now.
Okay, you want me to talk now? All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy lives to support my case for innocence and that of the other 3 here tonight. This experience has been both stressful and exciting. As a Marine veteran, it was always my duty to reach down and give my hand to someone who needed it, but today it's me who needs your hand. I have fought for 10 years to demonstrate and prove my innocence, and with the help of my amazing wife Danielle, who unfortunately could not be here tonight because she lives in Australia, I have received the help of many selfless advocates who believe in me. Tonight, you have been presented with a documentary laying out the foundation for my innocence. work of 3 amazing students, faculty members, supporters, lawyers, innocence advocates, family members, and individuals involved in the case. It is my desire that as you watch this tonight, you too will believe in my innocence and join in my journey. I leave each of you with this quote by Samuel Adams. It does not require a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen to set brush fires in people's minds. Thank you and good evening.
We don't yet have John Moss. We hope that we'll be able to get him. But we do have Kenneth Bond. And I just want to add, since it was mentioned that I know Kenneth personally. I was his professor for 4 years at the Jessup Correctional Institution. What's that? And Marty knows him too. Marty gave a guest lecture there. There are many people here who know him. He's somebody that I would vouch for, somebody of the highest integrity. He's somebody I would trust with anything. He's somebody I consider a dear friend. And I would do anything that I could to help him. And this project and this event is a part of that. And now, Kenneth, I'm not sure if you heard that, but now the microphone is yours.
Hey, Kenneth? All right, you're speaking to the audience now, yeah.
I would personally thank Marc. Marc has been a godsend. He's meant so much to me, to my family. I appreciate this opportunity. I appreciate the work that Kathy, Julia, and Nadia has done. Also, Marty and all. I want to thank all of my family for the support and love. I appreciate them all these years of being there for me and supporting me and believing in me and believing in my innocence. I think to what this documentary has meant to me, it has given me the number one thing that you could give a person in my situation. Hope. It represents hope, it represents beacon light, it represents opportunity for a second chance, it represents redemption, it represents me being able to show forth in who I've become. Hopefully, ultimately, it'll lead to me being able to be a positive influence, to be able to touch someone's life in a way that y'all have supported and touched my life. And I appreciate just what this has meant to my children, to my family, to my mother, to all of those who support me, my friends. Everybody that's been there for me that's rolled with me for so long through this whole situation. And I'm just so grateful. I'm eternally grateful. And I'm thankful. I believe everything happens for a reason. And, when we were doing JCI scholars and, Marc, who everyone sees as a true freedom fighter in the truest sense of the word, coming in here and not looking at us as just as prisoners, but as actual people and believing in me and believing in a lot of the guys in here, the sincerity in which, they keep acts with and how he carried up himself and just, I'm just so blessed to know him, I'm so blessed to be a part of this, and I can't wait to be free, to be there in person.
Thank you, Kenneth. And I'm going to be there at those gates when you get out. And now, right on schedule, we've got John Moss III, live from West Virginia, Mount Olive Correctional Complex.
All right, John, you're on.
Hello, my name is John Moss, and I'm here at Mount Olive, West Virginia. I was asked to call in to give thanks to the people that was involved, that have been involved with helping me and many of my friends in trying to bring awareness to the wrongful launched against me. I would like to thank Professor Howard and Professor Tankleff for all that they have done in putting a special team together and trying to help people like me and trying to bring awareness to injustice inmates and people are happening throughout the country. Because of a good friend of mine that's there at Georgetown, Mr. Brian Ferguson, I was able to be a part of this class. And I'd like to let you all know that I appreciate everything that's been done and that you are doing in helping me. I also would like to thank my crew who has been helping me keeping my head square and helping me along with trying to prove my innocence. That's Alex, Maddie, and Jeff. They've been huge supporters, very strong actors in bringing awareness to what's been going on here in West Virginia. And my being locked up here for something I didn't do. I want them to know that I appreciate everything they have done for me. And that's also to include Jason. He done the podcast interview with me a couple weeks ago, and come to find out that it's aired today. And I appreciate that very much. A lot of people in here that talked about it. I didn't know that it would get out so fast and back to me here in prison. But it has, and I'm dumbfounded with the technology. And I have a lot of people that I want to thank. I have guys that was right here in prison with me. My best friend Jimmy Gardner, and Brian Ferguson, Maurice Bundy, Marc, Janelle. All these guys have worked with me for many years. For 38 years, I have had guys like this around me to help me deal with the problems that I've been having here in this prison. I have been unjustly treated for something I didn't do, and I'm begging somebody to please help. I have a family, and I'm locked up. I have a mother, I have two brothers and two sisters. I have two sisters. They're sitting down here down, and I love them. I love them. Thank you. I hope my prayer is to somebody with their hands with me to help me reconnect with my family and the family that I have picked up along the way. In this 38 years, it's been hard. And I just think somebody would step on board. I'm not good at this interviewing. I don't think people can carry on the way I am right now.
You're doing just fine, John. I said you're doing just fine, John.
Yeah, I probably sound better than I look. I appreciate any and everything that anybody can do for me. Alex, Maddie, and Jessica, Marty, and Marc, I love all you guys, man. Y'all done a terrific job, man, in helping me get the word out. And, in the town that I'm in, I'm the talk of the town. And I appreciate it very much. And I have some great friends there. Like I said, Jimmy and Brian, they have been with me every step of the way. The last year they were in prison. 7, nothing to say. I've done about 10 more years than what they have done, but you know, they were there and they are still there. They keeping their word. You know, doing what they said they were going to do before they left. You know, I keep a tight circle with them. They say it's not easy. And the circle is tight. And it's hard to trust anybody. But, you know, with what West Virginia is doing, it's just crazy. It's just like most of the guys there, they're from out of state. And, you know, everybody come in and say, I don't know what it is, but, you know, it's like anybody come in from another state, you know, and lock them up, you know, and whatever the charge is, you know, lock them up, bury them in prison. And the only way, you know, a person can get out of here is seek help from outside the state, because nobody here in the state of West Virginia is going to win anything, but they won't visit it. You know, I had some of the best lawyers in money combined, mostly the best lawyers in money combined, and I've got nowhere. You know, when the money run out, so this due process, it just left me. I can't get the help anymore because there's no money.
John, this is Mark. John, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
John, this is Mark. Help is on the way. Help is on the way. The podcast just aired today. Okay, our event is here in Washington. We got a packed house. We have a lot of people who want to help.
Yeah.
All right, so hang in there and stay strong. Wow. I'd like to ask 4 people to please rise before we turn to the Q&A. So if people have questions and want to start lining up past the microphone in a second. But I'd like to ask Brian Ferguson. Steve Gardner. Maurice Ronell Lundy. Cornell Kamala. These are all friends of John, as you just heard. Close friends of John. Without Brian and Jimmy, we wouldn't have learned about John's case. None of this would have happened. But more importantly, they're also inspirations themselves, because they too were wrongfully convicted in the state of West Virginia. Brian spent 11 years, Jimmy spent 27 years, Tarnell 18 years. Inexplicable. But the bond that they have, and the loyalty they have to each other and what they're doing is so inspiring. It's just awe-inspiring, frankly. Let's have another big round of applause. Now we're going to turn to the Q&A portion of the evening. I'm going to ask the students to come join us on the stage, around the stage. And if people have questions or comments, would like to speak, there are 3 microphones. Please line up behind the microphone. And please identify yourself and make your question or comment brief so that others have a chance. Yes, please.
Woo! Okay. I'm going to try to put the
Yeah. Turn it on. It may not be on.
There we go. The green light is on. So I'm going to try to be brief, but I'm literally shaking right now, so please bear with me. I do have a question, but I want to start with this
hopefully a brief comment. Thank you. I want to start by saying my name is Sharita Wilkins. I'm from Rochester, New York, just an hour and 10 minutes away from Buffalo. And I want to say first to the families of Kenneth Bond, Valentino Dixon, John Moss, and Tim Wright, that we see you, we believe in your loved one's innocence, we care about you, and I, for one, will not stop saying their names until they're restored to you, until they get to live out the dreams that they have for their lives. I want you to know that. And I want to say briefly to all of the students and the faculty and all of the experts and supporters of this project that this is what college is supposed to be. I don't know if we have any believers in the room tonight, but this is what God's works really looks like. As someone with a loved one incarcerated, I know how these families feel, and I know what it's like when you have someone who you don't know really see you and understand your story. And so that leads me into my question, which is, it has two parts. A, what's next? And B, how do we replicate this?
What's next? What's next, you'll see in a little bit. But hopefully, Mark and I will be teaching this class every year, and hopefully there are lawyers in this room and beyond that will want to get involved, because some of our men don't have lawyers. And we've taken the case up to this point, and the lawyers can take it even further. Replicating is kind of hard. Mark and I are true individuals. We have the opportunity to travel. We've been given the opportunity to bring this program to other institutions, to demonstrate what 16 undergraduate students can do. Could it ever be the same? Because I don't know how many exonerees and childhood friends we teach a class. And I think really everybody should apply to Georgetown so they can take this class.
Let me just add, since Marty's a little cryptic about it. At the very end, so please don't leave early. We're going to tell you what comes next, and we're going to show you what comes next. But I don't want to give away the surprise. How about over here?
I'm Dr. Marc B. Hubble. I'm from Manassas, Virginia, and I spent 16 years incarcerated in the state of West Virginia. And I'm friends with Jimmy Gardner, Tarnell Palmalis, Brian Ferguson. I know John Moss personally. And, I was guilty of the crime I committed. But before I was arrested, there was another man who was taken down, questioned, and could have just as easily been railroaded into a conviction, the same way some of the people that you saw on this screen were. And, I served my time, and I'm on parole now, and I'm an advocate for prison reform and justice being done, whatever the case may be. But my question, and I think a lot of people might have the same question, is there anybody in a position of authority in these states that can see what we're seeing and actually be able to get a piece of paper and a document signed to where these men can at least get back into a trial where a jury can hear what we're hearing and say, hey, this guy did not commit this crime, and it's our duty as citizens of this country to make sure that innocent people aren't behind bars. And that's my question, is there something in place for such extreme cases as these?
Yeah, so in John's case in particular, I know a lot of you here know John, John doesn't have any counsel. He doesn't really have any kind of opportunity for relief right now, but what we discovered in the course of our investigation on John's case is that no one has actually ever looked for the blood evidence in his case. So there was serology evidence, vial of blood that was found, or blood that was found that was in the crime, and no one's ever looked for it. So what we're trying to do, and what our next step is going forward with John in a concrete way, is we're trying to find some kind of counsel who will be able to get us into the crime lab and to actually look for that blood.
So in terms of West Virginia's governance, whatever, it's a pretty tough state to get any kind of relief in. But if we can get that new blood, if we can get a new trial on the basis of new evidence, that would be huge for John.
We also have some hope. We have some hope in the Valentino Dixon case. As you saw at the very end, the motion is being filed this week. You also saw the current district attorney, who was not the district attorney before when he was convicted, who said he would not oppose release or that he would look upon him favorably. We're very hopeful, and I certainly know his daughter Tina is too. And I want to make sure before we close, before we go to the surprise, that Tina does get a word, because I know she'd like to speak. But let's take a few more questions and we'll do so there is some hope. But I will say overall, it's an uphill battle. Our criminal justice system places tremendous value on finality. Finality is more important than justice. I mean, I saw it with this guy, right? I mean, you know, it looks wonderful and triumphant, but, you know, it wasn't like that in the prison visiting room when we were talking, when, you know, 18 different appeals were denied, right? Despite it being clear as day, just as it's clear as day from the videos you just saw. So it's very, very hard. So we're trying to do whatever we can. We're hoping that through the public, right, that through public pressure, right? No one had heard of Adnan Syed before Serial, and suddenly now he's getting a new trial, right? We're trying to get that type of attention because the courts, unfortunately, are not helpful.
I was going to say, just so you understand how challenging the system is, Dawn can verify this, but Dawn, Barry Pollock, and a group of lawyers started on my case, and when they took the case on, they said, oh, he'll be free in 2 to 3 years. The law's on our side, the facts on our side. I think it took them probably 10 years of investigation and litigation to really obtain justice. So it's not an easy task. It can be done. We know it can be done. It's just developing the right team, and I think this is the front line. These students are the frontline warriors that will help us get to that next battle.
Thank you, Marc. You want to say something?
And for Tim's Wright case, you know, talking about a new trial, that's all he's asking for. I mean, you guys could see it in the documentary briefly, but the only person who put him out the crime was his co-defendant, Justin Davis, the son of the local Amherst Sheriff's deputy. And the person who checked his house for evidence during the investigation, who did a lot of that investigating, was his father. And you saw all the other pieces that were locked into place to make it seem like Tim was there. But, you know, that's all he's asking for, is for a fair shake. Just one chance in a trial to prove his innocence. And I think we, as a society, need to give him that, and for every single one of these cases. Thank you.
And finally, for Kenneth Bond, and I know we have Tony, who's a friend of Kenneth's and knows him. We have many other family members here. Kenneth needs legal representation. We uncovered, in the last 2 weeks, we found the eyewitness, and we were able to do the ballistics reanalysis that completely invalidated everything that he was convicted of. Without our students' work, there was no way to disentangle anything, and he was hopeless. Now he has hope, we've given him hope, and we need legal help. So for the lawyers in the room who work at firms that can help, Kenneth Bond deserves your help, and I hope he'll get that soon.
And Marc and I have no problem being co-counsel.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Wilson. I'm Marty, and me and Marc, Coach Brad and Mr. Ferguson. I was wrongly convicted over 28 years ago for a murder I didn't commit. However, I didn't have a team like y'all, but I did have an investigator that obtained files from the Prince George's County Police Department that they said would destroy only 3 years after my conviction. So what I'm trying to give to the students tonight is inspiration to stay persistent. Because had I not stayed persistent, I would have never proved my innocence. And what's the good thing about it now is the prosecutor who believed in my case, out of Prince George's County, she still is a state's attorney out there, doesn't give anybody any relief. I'm not going to say her name, but when we did talk, and I asked her, I said, why me? She said one word, Brady. I didn't have one. All you lawyers know what Brady is. I didn't have one. I didn't have two. I didn't have three. I had 6 Bradys pointing to someone else as the murderer. So when I came home, I was helping guys out in prison, and all the lawyers kept saying, you know this stuff. You need to go back to school. So Howard University had a paralegal certification course, and I had to do an essay to get into their course, and I explained my situation, and they accepted me. So now I'm a certified paralegal. And one of the professors who was a retired Superior Court DC judge, I saw her about a couple of weeks ago, had told me after seeing all my papers that I turned in and my finals, she said, you know this stuff. She said, you need to start your own consulting service. So now I have a paralegal service called the Great Injustice Paralegal and Consulting Services, where I contract myself out to attorneys to help the wrongfully convicted.
Hi everyone, my name is Daniel, I'm a senior at Georgetown. First I want to say thank you to all the loved ones and friends and families of Valentino Dixon, John Moss, Kenneth Bond, and Tim Wright. Thank you. Without all of your fighting, none of this would have happened. Thanks for coming here today. You know, all of us who are still at home couldn't make it. Thanks to y'all. I just want to start by saying that this is really cool. We're here at Georgetown, a university that was built on the backs of enslaved Black and brown people. A university that only until recently profited through some dominant investments off of private prisons. So to have this event here today is really special. I just wanted to ask the Kenneth Bond group just a question about what the process was of finding the key eyewitness, and what was your reaction when you first got the call?
We'd like to give a special shout out to Adam Deutsch over here, who's a private investigator. So he gave us our first lead, and he gave us like a list of addresses and phone numbers, and we basically called all of them. We actually visited his house thrice. He was there none of those times. And then one day we were filming our war room, and Julia got a call from him.
Basically, after Adam gave us a list of all these different possibilities of addresses, phone numbers, things that we thought could be Ahmaud Williams, I put all of them in my phone, and I would call them, like once a week. We would meet. When we would be talking to Kenneth, we would be like, okay, let's try to go through Ahmaud Williams's. And one day we just decided, well, we think that he knows. But we went to his house for the second time, and we asked the neighbor, hey, who lives in apartment B? And this is the same house that you saw in the documentary. And the neighbor opened the door and was like, oh, are you looking for Ahmaud Williams? And we all tried to be coy and we're like, yes. So we knew that he was supposed to be there, and we knew that he wasn't home. A lot of the times we were trying to go contact him, so we ended up sending him a letter, a very polite letter, that was saying we're students at Georgetown University, and we're looking into a case that occurred in 1995 Baltimore. We have reason to believe that you were the eyewitness in this case. If this is you, please call back. And after an agonizing number of weeks, when we made a very rough cut of the documentary, and really unsure what angle to take this in, he called, and he was so gracious and kind in speaking to us. And you saw he was a phenomenal individual that did what he thought was best. And he was strong enough to say that he wasn't sure, which was really, really touching to see.
Yeah, just that we got incredibly lucky in the timing, and to get to interview someone as great as Ahmaud. He's really a gracious and a thoughtful person who cared a lot about doing justice both times, and cared a lot about Kenneth's family and Terrence's family. So I think it was really an honor to be able to interview him and speak with him for this documentary.
There's one word that describes the group: persistence. They didn't give up, and look where it paid off.
Inspector?
Greco, I'm a returning citizen after 34 years in the Maryland prison system. I taught Kenneth how to play basketball because he was too short. I taught Anthony back there how to play football because he was too small. So anyway, we're getting very serious here for a second, is that, yes, these guys need legal representation, but the door was closed back in the 80s, and so we have to attack 3 avenues. Whether they were convicted in the 90s or not, doesn't matter. The Anti-Terrorist Act did it. Our good buddy Bill Clinton signed it. And the bottom line is that people are not getting due process. They're not getting representation because all the rules in the courts have changed. Not only the case law, but the rules of the court. And the problem is in Maryland, we just went back to mandatory sentencing. Unbelievable. Just went back a month ago, and it's horrible. But the bottom line is that what we have to do is attack it on 3 different levels. We have to attack it through the courts, but we also have to attack it through the rules committees of the courts. And we also have to attack it through the legislature. And we have to attack it through the governor's office, the executive branch. And what it's going to do is it's going to take pressure from everybody. This has to be the revolution of the 60s. We have to come back to it. We have all these different movements, and all of them are very important. And I hope all the students find their passion and find a movement, and whatever it is, go for it. But this criminal justice system and the correction of the correctional system has to be addressed by a movement, and it can start here on this campus and needs to be on every other campus. We need to have a duo like these two on different campuses. I don't know, we put out a big ad and find 2 lifelong friends like this, but we need it on every campus throughout the country. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy Gardner. I am honored to be here tonight. First and foremost, I want to give praise to God for blessing me to be here. Amen. As Mark Howard stated, I did 27 years of wrongful incarceration in the state of West Virginia. And I have some friends in here tonight. Colonel Elpamolis, if you stand up, please. Brian Ferguson, if you stand up, please. Marc, would you please stand up? And I don't know if anyone else in here is from West Virginia, but these guys, along with myself, went through West Virginia's prison system, which was a very, very arduous fight in place. Some of the most horrible conditions, mental despicable. And we all know John Moss. We know the man that John Moss is. And it gives us great pleasure to be here. And I want to say, John Moss gave each and every one of us something very special. And we hold that to our hearts in here. John gave us the will to keep fighting. John gave us hope. John gave us an opportunity to know that there's not all bad in West Virginia. And he gave us an opportunity to say, we're going to speak up for you, man, when we leave here. And that opportunity came true tonight throughout this process of this fine group of students from Georgetown, Martin Tankleff, and Mr. Marc Howard. This has been an extraordinary night for me. One of the greatest nights since I returned home, April 1st, 2016. And I tell you, this is phenomenal. And I'm able to see my guys, T. Man, I thank you for coming, man. Thank you for letting me slam on you too on the basketball court. And this one too. Yeah. But I got one of the greatest athletes right here, Marc. You guys might not know it, The guys hated him on the court. I mean, they hated him on the court because he was so good. He was so good. White chocolate, they call him. I give props to what props to do. But I tell everyone here tonight, we went through a very, very arduous fight. Brian had life without. He came home. Marc had life sentence. He came home. Tarnell had, I believe, 2 life withouts. He came home. I had 110 years. I came home. And I tell you, in the state of West Virginia, you had a guy by the name of Fred Salem Zane that was falsifying and testifying falsely to DNA evidence, serological reports, changing documents. If people don't know about this guy, you need to go and read up on him. And John is a victim of this. You know, like myself, I, thank God, got relief after 27 years. My first 23 years in West Virginia, I didn't have an opportunity for habeas corpus. If any lawyers in here know what I mean, there's no habeas corpus, no relief. I exhausted no state remedies. 13 attorneys, no lawyers. You young ladies and men right here, what you're doing is a phenomenal job. John needs this help. The last person before me that got relief in West Virginia was 1998, James Richardson. And this is after the guy was indicted on our case for knowingly testifying falsely and presenting false evidence. I mean, this is remarkable. Then I come along in 2016, and I tell you, these young ladies and men, and the gentlemen here today, and Marty and Marc, these guys are shedding a light on West Virginia and all other cases in the United States that need to be highlighted. And like I said, I'm honored to be here. And I just thank God. I thank all of you for having me. I thank you guys, my friends, man, for showing up and supporting this cause. You guys are wonderful, man. Thank you.
Website and hashtag and all that. Jimmy Gardner speaks. JC Gardner speaks, and now we know why. He does speak. Gina, do you want to come up? Can you come up to the stage?
In addition to all the documentaries, in addition to all the documentaries, the students created websites for every case and social media. So if anybody's interested, please go to their websites or social media and follow them, promote them.
Yeah. And we can get the last word before we have our special surprise to Tina, Valentino's daughter.
Thank you so much. A lot of my family couldn't be here tonight. They're in New York City. I live in Ohio, so I'm a little bit closer. But I just wanted to say thank you so much to all my father's supporters. This wouldn't be possible without your help. My father being wrongfully imprisoned for 26 years has taken a lot from me. You know, it's been 26 lost summer vacations, 26 missed birthdays, 26 years of life. And I watched him for years studying the case in front of me over trailer visits, you know, showing me all these facts and putting this puzzle together. And today I'm just so thankful that we just have the opportunity to share the story with you all. This incredible team of professors and students, they truly have given our story hope, strength, and power. And I hope that after viewing this, you're left with a little light of your own. Because now you can see that just like our story, your life creates a story. Your story has a cause, and your cause has an impact. An impact that can make a difference in someone else's life. Thank you, guys.
just have a few final remarks. I would like to thank Lori, Courtney, Angela, Frank, Lise, Zoe, and Julian. Thank each of one of you for supporting Mark and I on this journey to be here tonight. We would also like to thank Cindy, Rob, Travis for believing in our vision, and we hope our project is able to operate every year going forward. Finally, I want to thank Mark, the Georgetown community, and Georgetown University for giving me the opportunity to teach, and I hope I'm invited back. The sense of pride working with the 16 students is beyond words. They far exceeded my expectations and imaginations. As you leave here this evening, know this. When they said it wasn't possible, our 16 students proved them wrong. Each one of us can make a difference, and let's not give up hope for these 4 young men.
Finally, to answer the first question about what comes next, this is not the end of our project. This is not the end of our story. The students, as you've seen, have made these documentaries, but the entire class has been filmed by Strong Island Films, a production company with Rob Dorfman and Cindy DePasquale. And our hope and our goal is that you will see it on a screen near you sometime soon, the 6-episode documentary, Making an Exoneree. And if it sounds interesting, let us know if you would like to see the sizzle, which I've learned is the technical word for a trailer. Marty used to call it a sizzler. Of that show. Would anyone be interested in watching it? It's about 5 minutes. We'll close with this.
It's an epidemic. It's not isolated to one race. It affects poor people, it affects wealthy people, black, white.
The criminal justice system doesn't work like it does on Law and Order or CSI. Huge numbers of mistakes are being made every day.
Not everybody who's behind bars belongs there. Innocent until proven guilty is a great ideal if we could actually live up to it, but the sad reality is that we don't.
I spent 11 years in prison based on innocence.
Every day in prison is a bad day. Friends since I think I was 3 or 4 years old. We grew up together in lovey-dovey preschool, and we continue to joke that Mark went to Yale and I went to jail.
Marty himself was wrongfully convicted when we were seniors in high school. His parents were murdered. He was convicted of murdering his parents. And I always believed that he was innocent. And finally I got involved with his legal team, and eventually it took him 17 and a half years, but we were able to prove his innocence.
6,338 days I was in prison before it was finally released on December 27, 2007. So when Mark asked me to teach a class at Georgetown, in a weird way I thought it was crazy because it was kind of like out of the blue, we started talking about it, and I go, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah."
So this course is in a way bringing together, coming full circle in a way to where I started, which was with Marty.
And what ends up happening? You end up in prison.
And Marty coming down here and being a co-professor with me for this course, and for the goal of trying to get other people, other Martys, if you will, out of prison, is just tremendous and really exciting.
From that way.
I think America sees itself as such a gold standard in terms of human rights and justice, and then you see these instances where the system is so incredibly failed someone. I absolutely believe in John Moss's innocence. It's so just obvious that he didn't do it. How anybody ever got a conviction out of this, I have no idea. It's a textbook example of a coerced confession or a false confession case.
They didn't even find the murder weapon. There was nothing that really linked, like forensically linked Kenneth to the crime the night of the murder.
A couple of weeks before President Baumgartner was murdered, he filed a police report saying that a green Ford had tried to run him off the road.
Vest was repeatedly punched by Trooper Smith, is what he said, and basically like, if you don't say you did this, if you don't invest, this is where they'll find your body.
Did you happen to know who the people who live in Parker are?
He's dead. He shot Toriana. He didn't mean to kill him. He lost control of the gun.
Everybody knows me, right? I'm not no perfect guy, I'm not no angel or nothing like that. But killing somebody, never, ever, never that type of person.
It's the truth. Valentino Dixon is an innocent man.
We now know empirically that people do confess and routinely confess to crimes that, in fact, they did not.
Prosecutors know it's a lie. The cops know it's a lie. The judges even know it's a lie. It happens every day.
This isn't just a class. This isn't just about wrongful convictions. This is about people's lives.
The holy grail for us would obviously be one of our 5 cases, one of the 5 people we believe were wrongfully convicted, getting out, getting exonerated, and coming home.
There are tens of thousands of innocent people in prison.
If you don't think it can happen here, you're wrong.
That's it. Thank you all for coming.